or obligatory. The majority of scholars say that it's not obligatory per se, but is recommended. This is the opinion of Umar ibn Khattab, Ibn Abbas, Mal al-Farisi, Imran ibn Hussein, Malik ibn al-Awza'i, al-Shafi, Ahmed Ishaq, Abu Thawr, Dawood and others. Abu Hanifa said that it is obligatory. He justified it with the statement of Allah Most High, why do they not believe? And when the Quran is recited to them, they do not prostrate. The majority of scholars justify that prostration is not obligatory by way of rigorously authenticated account of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, that on one Friday he recited Surah Al-Nahl from the Mimbar, and when he reached the verse prostration, he descended and prostrated, and the people prostrated with him. The next Friday he recited the same passage until he came to the verse of prostration and said, O people, we have come upon a verse of prostration, and whoever prostrated has indeed hit the mark, but there is no sin upon whoever did not prostrate. And Umar radiallahu anhu himself did not prostrate. Bukhari related it. This action and statement from Umar radiallahu anhu in the gathering is clear evidence. The response to it is not clear evidence. Astaghfirullah. The Hanafi me came home. So why the Hanafis say that is obligatory, right? So we say it's the Quran. The Quran says, why then, if when the Quran is recited, they do not prostrate? Allah is rebuking us, we say to rebuke someone, He's rebuking us, He's blaming us, He's criticizing us, and He's saying that it's a sign of kufr when the Quran is recited that you don't prostrate. So now this is what we go by, and this is a very strong dalil. It's a straightforward dalil. So, but what Umar radiallahu anhu did, one day he prostrated and the other he didn't. And he said the one who didn't do it didn't sin. But he was in Jumu'ah. Is that clear? This was during the Jumu'ah. And we believe as Hanafis that if we don't prostrate, we have to make up the sujood tilawa, isn't it? Do we have to make up sujood tilawa? We have to. So sometimes when, like in the khutbah of Jumu'ah, it would not be recommended when a verse of recitation is recited that you must prostrate, meaning that those who do, we can also understand the words of Umar then, you are not a sinner if you don't prostrate now. And meaning that the possibility of this explanation exists, meaning that it is possible to explain it like this, so we can't say that this overpowers the meaning of a straightforward ayah in the Quran. Does that make sense? And this is why we say إِذَا كَثُرَ الْإِحْتِمَالِ بَطُلَ الْإِسْتِدْلَالِ. This is what we say in Usul al-Fiqh. When multiple interpretations are possible, then taking one of them as the only and sole proof and correct understanding doesn't make any sense and is invalid. So this is why the Hanafis have a very strong point here. Okay. Yes. Yes.
So, two questions.
Yes.
When you're doing a recitation as a class,
yes,
and you have several recitations of that same
one sujood.
So just one
Yeah.
at the end, or should you do it straight away?
You can do it at the end at the same majlis.
Yeah. And also, from what I've read, is that you need to be in wudu and you need to be praying for a female. If you've listened to it, it's also fard upon you to do it. So does that mean that a woman who is not praying?
No, the same rulings as prayer apply here. So if someone hears it while being during the menstruation, it doesn't need to be made up because she wasn't asked to pray. So, and not to make up prayers. But if we were to listen as someone passing by and we hear a verse of Quran, well, our scholars, they differ. They say if you were listening attentively, then you should. If you pass by and it's recited but you're not listening, you just hear it. There's a difference between hearing and listening, and you're not intended, you're not in a gathering like you're walking through the souk somewhere in Pakistan or Jordan where people, put Quran on the radio, then you don't need to perform sujood. So this would be the difference between al-istima', between attentively listening or between hearing. It should also be recited by someone who, now we're getting into the fiqh of, so is that an answer to your question? Yes. Okay, let us continue. Bismillah. The response to the verse that Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu cites as evidence for his position that it's obligatory is obvious. For what is intended by the verse by censuring people for forsaking the prostration is declaring them to be liars, for God Most High said thereafter, but the disbelievers deny it, the Quran. So it has been established in the authentic books of Al-Bukhari and Muslim that Zayd ibn Thabit recited Surah Al-Najm and to the Prophet ﷺ, he did not prostrate. And it is also rigorously established in rigorously authenticated hadith that he did prostrate in a najm, so this indicates that it's not obligatory. I'm not going to give an answer to everything which he said here. Just read the Hanafi books about prostration while reciting Quran. The number of verses of prostration in their places, we differ with the Shafi'is. As for their number, the preferred opinion of a Shafi'i radiallahu anhu and the majority of scholars is that there are 14 verses of prostration. Then he mentions them all. As for the prostration of Surah Sad, it is recommended to prostrate. It is not considered among the required prostrations. It is established in Bukhari Sahih from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu that he said, Surah Sad is not among the required prostrations, and I've seen the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prostrate in it. This is the opinion of a Shafi'i and those who have said something similar. Abu Hanifa said that there are 14, however he omitted the second occurrence in Al-Hajj and affirmed the inclusion of the prostration of Sad as among the required prostrations. There are two accounts from Ahmad ibn Hanbal. The first is like what the Shafi'i said. The second is that there are 15 occasions for prostration. Adding Surah Sad to the list of 14, this is the opinion of Abu al-Abbas ibn Surayj and Abu Ishaq al-Marwazi, one of Shafi'i's later companions. There are two accounts from Malik. The first is like what the Shafi'i said, but the most well-known of the two is that there are 11 occasions of prostration, omitting a najm in al-inshiqaq and alaq. This is the old opinion of the Shafi'i. The sound opinion is that what we have previously mentioned, the rigorously authenticated hadith indicated. So now what is the Shafi'i and Ahmad Hanbali thing? Like sometimes when we read in some books, they talk about three madahib. They talk about Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and they omit Hanbali. Well, according to some of the Malikiyah, and according even to some of the later Hanafiya, they say that the Hanbali madhab is to the Shafi'i madhab what the opinion of Abu Yusuf al-Qadi and Muhammad al-Shaybani is to the Hanafi madhab. You see this? So they say that it is not a separate madhab as such, but rather a further definition or another opinion within the Shafi'i school. But they would never say that it is the Shafi'i school. But they would say the relation between the Hanbali madhab and the Shafi'i madhab is the relation of Abu Yusuf al-Qadi Muhammad al-Shaybani with Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. The Hanbali madhab in a certain way is quite difficult because there are many different opinions of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. You can find when you read, yes, and Imam Ahmad has more than 6 opinions about this. Imam Ahmad has more than 11 opinions about this. Imam Ahmad has more than 6 opinions. So at the end you don't know what the opinion is. So you need to be a very strong scholar to define what the Hanbali madhab truly is. And then we have these big scholars like Imam al-Mawardi rahimahullah in his book Al-Insaf. And he was one of these books where he tries to figure out, where he figures out what the real Hanbali madhab is. So in brief, the Hanbali madhab is not very easy to study. If you just read one book, you might get confused. So locations, we read that. Specific rulings, are we there? No. Disagreement, are we there?
There are 2 accounts from Malik.
Excuse me?
There are 2 accounts from Malik. Page 76.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 accounts from Malik. The first is
Okay. There are 2 accounts from Malik. The first is, I finished that one. Locations of the verses of prostration. The specific locations of the verses of prostration are, this you can read yourself. Do you promise me that you will read this? Okay. So, check the box and you have to read this. Disagreement about Surah Fussilat. There is no disagreement of any consideration as to their specific locations in the surahs, except for Fussilat, in which there is disagreement among the scholars. The opinion of a Shafi'i and his companions is as we have mentioned it. It occurs immediately after Allah's statement, Most High, and are never wearied. This is the opinion of Sa'id ibn Musayyib, Muhammad ibn Sirin, Abu Wa'il, Shaqiq ibn Salama, Sufyan al-Thawri, Abu Hanifa, Ahmad ibn Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. Others hold that it occurs immediately after Allah's statement, Most High is he if you worship him. Ibn Munzir relates this from Umar ibn Khattab, Al-Hasan al-Basri, the companions of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Ibrahim al-Nakhai, Abu Salih, Talha ibn Musarrif, Zubayr ibn al-Harith, Malik ibn Abbas, Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. It is also an opinion of one or more of the companions of Imam Shafi'i. Al-Baghawi related this in the Tahdhib. As for the statement of Abu al-Hasan Ali ibn Sa'd al-Adbari, one of our Shafi'i companions, in his book Al-Kifaya, addressing the disagreement between the legists about the prostration of Surah An-Naml occurring at the saying of Allah Most High, and know what you conceal and what you reveal. He said this is the opinion of the most of the legists. Malik said that the prostration occurs at the statement of Allah Most High, Lord of the formidable throne. This quote of his, according to our opinion and the opinion of the majority of the legists, is not known or accepted. It is a manifest error. The book of our Shafi'i companions are explicit that the verse of prostration occurs at the statement of Allah Most High, Lord of the formidable throne. Now, to be quite frank, if you hear all this, what will you remember of everything we read? Actually, not a lot, is it? So, these parts of fiqh things, if I can say it like this, we read it for the barakah, to have the chain of narration, but in reality, as I said in the beginning, this is really all has to do with fiqh here. But a bit later we will come back to the things we can all use. So we're just going quickly reading this. I know this might maybe be boring or seem to be long, but we're almost there, inshallah. Okay, I don't think it's boring, but anyway, should we rest? We continue. Okay, it's 8 o'clock, right? Usually we rest at 8. Okay, no, it's okay. Who wants to rest now? It's not impolite if you say now. You want to rest now, you're the only one. Rest. Just go like this. Okay, let's continue a little bit. Specific rulings concerning the verse of prostration. Prostration occasioned by the recitation of the Quran has the same general ruling as a supererogatory prayer, in that its conditions are that one must be cleansed of impurity, free of filth, face the Qibla, and his nakedness should be covered. So it is unlawful for anyone to make the prostrations while he has legally inexcusable filth on his body or clothes, or has ritual impurity, unless he were to make dry ablution in a situation in which dry ablution is permissible. Prostration is also unlawful when turned toward a direction other than the Qibla, except during a journey where supererogatory prayers are permissible when one is turned toward a direction other than the Qibla. All of this is agreed upon. Agreed upon by whom? The Shafi'is? Why?
No, because he's saying all of this is agreed upon and nothing across.
Then he's referring to... Yeah. One who says that reciting verse of Surah Sad, 24 of Surah Sad, requires prostration, holds moreover that he should prostrate whether he reads it during prayer or outside of it, treating it like all other verses of prostration. As Shafi'i and others who claim that it is not one of the verses requiring prostration say that when one recites it outside of prayer, it is recommended to prostrate, since the Prophet ﷺ prostrated at its recitation, as we have mentioned. But if one recites it during prayer, he should not prostrate. If, however, one does prostrate out of ignorance or forgetting that it is not required, he does not invalidate his prayer, though he should make prostration of forgetfulness. But if one knew of the sound opinion that this prayer is rendered invalid by such prostration because he added something foreign to the prayer, then this prayer is invalid. The same way it would be invalid were he to make prostration of thankfulness within his prayer. There is no disagreement about this among the scholars. The second opinion is that it is not invalidated since it has an association to the prayer. If the Imam prostrates for Surah Sad, if the Imam leading the prayer were to prostrate for verse 24 of Surah Sad, believing that it requires prostration, yet someone following him in prayer does not hold this view, he should not follow the Imam. Instead, he extricates himself altogether, or he remains standing, waiting for the Imam to complete the prostration. And if one stands waiting for the Imam, must he perform a prostration of forgetfulness? There are two opinions. The preponderating one is that he does not. For whom it is proper to prostrate. It is an established prophetic tradition for someone reciting a verse of prostration and who has ritual purity by way of water or soil, whether or not the recitation was made during prayer or outside of it. This holds true for someone listening to the recitation. Moreover, this is established for someone who merely heard the recitation, though he was not particularly listening to it. However, Shafi'i said, I do not emphasize this for the one who merely overheard it, as I emphasize it for the attentive listener. And this is the correct opinion. Imam al-Haramain, one of our Shafi'i companions, said that someone who merely heard the recitation does not prostrate. However, the well-known opinion is the first. Whether or not the reciter was in or outside of prayer, it is established for the one who overheard the recitation and the attentive listener to prostrate. This holds true whether or not the one reciting actually prostrated himself. This is the well-known and correct opinion according to the companions of Shafi'i. It is what Abu Hanifa said as well. The author of Al-Bayan, one of Shafi'i's companions, said that a bystander listening to someone reciting a verse of prostration during prayer does not prostrate. As-Saydalani, one of the Shafi'i's later companions, said that it is not established that he prostrates unless the one reciting prostrates. The correct opinion is the first. So all of this we can't, if you're a Hanafi, you can't really do anything with this. You just know. Like the thing is debating, like when you are in prayer and now you hear somebody reciting the verse of prostration, should you now prostrate after your prayer? Definitely you are not going to prostrate in your prayer, but are you going to prostrate after your prayer? So all of these things you're going to find in the Hanafi books, right? So I would advise you to read Al-Mukhtar fil Fatwa of Imam al-Mawsili. Is one of the 7 main books in Hanafi fiqh. Now it's Al-Mukhtar fil Fatwa. But in Al-Mukhtar itself, like Sheikh Dr. Salah Abdul Hajj said, the reason why we read Al-Mukhtar is because of Al-Ikhtiyar. And the Ikhtiyar is the explanation of Al-Mukhtar by the writer himself. Alright? And there are some things in the books which are not, in this book, which are even not the murajjah fil madhab, which are not that which is the main opinion in the madhab, some of the things. So you still need a scholar, even though that this book is one of the 7 books in the Hanafi madhab, which which is a reflection of the madhab. You can never read a book by yourself and say, now I know the madhab. It doesn't work like that. Okay. Also the book of Imam Shrumbulani. Try to read also Nur al-Falah, for example. It has been translated, Nur al-Falah, right? So you can read in it. And then there's a book that I think that was published through Ustad Saleh, The Guider's Gift, or what is it?
Beginner's Gift.
The Beginner's Gift. Read it. It's very nice to read. It gives you a general impression of what you need to know. Anyway, I'm going to wait here. I'm going to stop here for a moment. And then we continue with Nas.